Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Stitch Sessions. This week we have this fabulous shrug scarf to show you. It is extremely easy to make, it's very beginner friendly, and I really love this piece because it is actually a 4-in-1 item. So you can use this as a shrug, as shown here, or you can use this as a scarf, you can use this as a cowl, or you can use it as a scoodie. So you've got this fabulous 4-in-1 item. It's just done using half double crochet stitches. And so let's just get to the tutorial. We'll grab our materials and we're going to get you started on how to make our shrug scarf. And remember to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, so you'll always stay up to date on all of our crochet tutorials. So let's get started, guys. For this project, I am using Red Heart's It's a Wrap rainbow yarn. And it is 55% acrylic, 45% cotton. It is considered a size 2 fine weight yarn. They are recommending a 4mm hook. I am going to be using actually a 5.5mm hook for this project because I want my stitches to sit loose and lacy. Now, I have to say I've been working a little bit with this yarn. I'm not that much of a fan of working with it. It's because it's very loosely spun here. You're probably better off using a smaller hook for much tighter stitches. It's difficult to work with, in my opinion. I'm not a tight knitter per se, but I'm not a tight crocheter per se, but it was very frustrating because of the splittiness of it, I guess we'll call it. But it does create a really pretty light fabric. So if you like this type of yarn, you've got loads of patience, I say go for it. I am sticking with this because it is creating the levity of, because it is creating the lightness of fabric that I am looking for. And I like the colorway. The other thing that you should know is you'll need 1 ball of these. Now, the It's a Wrap also has another type of yarn that's thin as well. And I think next time what I'm going to do is I'm going to try that one because it is thin, but it's not splitty like this. It's just one nicely spun piece of yarn. So I will be doing another project with that one, but for now we're using this one, and this ball is 150 grams. It will give you 623 yards or 570 meters for your project. This is more than enough. So we're basically just going to create one long rectangle, nice and easy. So we're going to start off with a slip knot. And from here, we are going to chain a loose chain of however long you want your length to be. I'm going to do a nice comfortable chain of 100. Okay, so you're just going to go ahead and do that, keeping them really relaxed. And then I will meet you when you've got your number of chains that you need. Once you've got the length of chains that you prefer, and see how mine are really nice and relaxed, what you're going to do is you're going to go into the 3rd chain from the hook, and you're going to do a half double crochet, keeping it nice and relaxed. Okay, and then you're going to do that into every single stitch all the way across until you get to the end. So you're going to see that this part is super, super easy and great for beginners to practice your half double crochet stitch. And don't worry, see how it's really looks like it's very loose and flimsy. We want the loose lacy look, so don't worry at all about that. Okay, so go ahead, do 1 half double crochet all the way to the end, and I'll just meet at the end to talk about turning around, but this is basically the pattern to create your long rectangle. Okay, once you've done 1 half double crochet into each stitch, your work will look something like this, nice and loose. So what we're going to do here is you will chain 1 and then turn your work. And then what I'm going to do for this particular project, just because this is so loosey-goosey in its stitching, loosey-goosey, lacy, is I am going to go right back into the base of this stitch, which is right here, okay? But remember, we still want to continue working in the back loops only, so I'm going to go right through there, and this will just give me a little bit of extra fortification on that end stitch there, okay? So there it is there, and then I just continue on as usual. I go into the back loop. Now, because the back side of the half double crochet shows what looks like this braided effect, you want to be careful not to go in that way because that's the full stitch. So we want to go into the back loop only, and you'll see that it's going to start pushing those little braids or V's forward to create a really cool effect, which is what I was hoping for this design. So see, it's just a bit pushed up, but you can see these V's are being pushed to the front, okay? So that's what we're going to do into every single stitch for rows and rows and rows. And that's it. It's a very easy design, okay? So if I relax it a little bit like that, let me just take that out there. Okay, so if I can relax it like that, you can see that the braid effect is starting to come through, and it's going to look really, really, really sweet. Okay, well, you guys know what to do. Okay, so once you guys have the desired length, or in my case, I just kept crocheting until I went through my entire skein of yarn, your work will look something like this. So you can see the self-striping yarn is gradually changing color. It came out really, really great. So you can see, actually I shouldn't have pinned this, but so my width is something like this, but I've gone ahead and folded it in half. So what you're going to do once you've got your nice long panel is you're going to fold it in half. Let me just adjust the camera here. Lengthwise. So you've got the length. So you fold it in half from the width. And mine, actually, let me just measure it real quick here. The length of mine is about 46 inches or 117 centimeters, okay? And I'm happy with that. I mean, if you, this runs around my neck and down my arms, stopping about, I would say, 2 inches shy of my wrist. And I'm fine with that because this is meant to be kind of a casual shrug, just to give me a little something, but not meant to be a full-on cardigan. So I'm happy with this length. It's been folded in half. And what you want to do is you want to mark off where your sleeves are going to seam in. Okay, so as you can see, I have a couple of markers here that I've put in, some safety pins. So this is the edge. So there's the opening of a sleeve there. And then I just kind of put a couple pins in the center to keep it steady, keep it secure. And then, so I did it on both sides. And how I found where I wanted to mark is I actually put this on myself. And this first safety pin here is just loosely just under where my underarm begins. Okay, so this center part is the body or the back of my shrug. So when you have it folded down like this, it just looks like your usual scarf. But once I open the center, so you can see, now I've got these two openings for my arms. This becomes my neckline, and this will drape down the back. So when I tried it on, there we go, that's a better perspective. These pins here fall just under my underarm, not too snugly, because I want this to sit nice and relaxed, but right there. So this would then become the back body of my shrug. So that's why I've got the two pins, one on each side, and then I just put a few more pins here just so I could try it on and make sure that it sits nicely and how I like it. So that's what you want to do to make sure that when you wear it as a shrug, that it'll sit nicely, whether it's on yourself or for somebody, if you're making it for someone. So once I've got that all pinned, which I do, I'm going to fold it back up again. And all we're going to do, we're just about done, because I'm going to keep this one very, very simple. We can do another project later on where you can add some trim. We can do a rim around in like a finishing row, but I'm going to keep this very, very simple so that it's just nice and straightforward. So I've got a bit of a tail on this end, which I realize now I didn't leave a long enough tail. So you see, it just takes me to there. I have a funny feeling I may end up having to just get some regular thread to sew in this side. So note for you guys, when you start, when you do your slip knot, just leave yourself a slightly longer tail. And I mean, it's kind of irrelevant for me to measure because yours might be different, but so my tail is 12 inches. I probably would have done at least 24 inches of a tail. And most especially for a self-striping yarn, because as you can see, the colors change. So it's not like I can use the same color to sew up this side as I do on this side, because it's going to show through. So luckily when I went right to the end of the skein, so I've got quite a nice long tail here on this side. So this is the side I'm going to use to sew up my side to show you guys. So just keep that in mind when you start. So here we go. Now it doesn't really matter whether this is right side out or right side in, because both sides look the same. It is reversible. So as long as you've got these two corners, whoa. As long as you've got these two corners pretty nicely together, I'm just going to take this out. You should be okay. The beautiful thing about this being so loose and lacy is it will be forgiving when it comes to exact stitching. So I want to find the very first loop here. That's going to be right there. So I'm just going to insert my yarn needle, at least get the two loops. And be aware that you are actually going to be working into the sides of your work. So maybe a little trickier to find stitches, but it'll also be much more forgiving as well. So now what we want to do is we want to find, so you can see that's where the tail ends. I'm going to find the first loop at the other corner, which is right there. So if I pull my yarn through, it should, that's it, end up snugly there. So now I've kind of secured that first corner there. And now all I'm going to do, I'm just going to use a simple whip stitch. And I'm just going to do that all the way until I get to that final marker there. And that'll be the end of my sleeve. So working into the sides of stitches, it's not always easy. But the main thing is to just try and keep it as evenly spaced as possible so that whatever loops you pick up on the piece of the fabric that's closest to you will be very similar to the piece of the fabric that's on the other side there. Okay, so I'm just going to pick up some loops and then go right across to the other side and pull through. I know it might be tricky to see, guys, because the yarn is a bit dark here and my focus is quite terrible at the moment, but do the best we can to give you the basic gist. So see, that's it. And actually that's sometimes the good thing about not being able to see the stitches too perfectly is that, and I know I said this before, it makes it much more forgiving to just get the job done, so to speak, and no one will be the wiser when it comes to where your stitches are sitting. Okay, so I'm going to do that one more time here, just finding a loop, making sure I get to the back, and I did. So I'm just pulling up, making sure not to get it tangled, and there we go, like that. So you can see that there. So now we're closing off to create the hole for our sleeve. Okay, guys? So I'm going to let you go ahead and do that. Really take your time. Sometimes I get that it takes some patience, I know. But just take your time, go nice and easy, go all the way until you get to the end of where you want your sleeve to finish. Okay, and I'll meet you up there. We'll just do a quick little fasten off, and you're pretty much going to be done. Okay, and I just fed the yarn through my very last stitch, or my last spot, I should say, and I had just the right amount of yarn, thankfully. So what I want to do now is just kind of secure this. I'm going to go back in a few times and just kind of create a bit of a knot here. I might even weave backward just a wee bit to give this a little bit extra security here. So I'm just trying to create some nice secure knots. So you might want to go back and forth a little bit, do your thing. So I'm pretty happy with that. And I'll just cut that off, but here we have it. So now you can actually see the seam. So this is going to be the inside. So once you've done this one, you'll do the other sleeve. And then what you do is you turn it inside out and your shrug scarf is done. Okay, so you can see. So this will be under your arm. And then it just opens up nicely there. And you have got yourself a shrug scarf. Love how that came out. Actually, once the fabric has kind of been put together, once you've worked with the yarn a bit, the actual end result is very nice and light. So if you want a project that is going to create a light fabric, this yarn actually is pretty good for that. I'm still going to stick to my guns and say it is a little bit painful to work with, only because of the way it's put together. It splits a lot, but it does create a really, really beautiful lightweight yarn. Okay, guys, so go ahead, do your other sleeve, and then we will have our final product. Okay, guys, and I just finished sewing up my last side here, and here we go. Our shrug scarf is finished. And this is so easy to do. I love it. A beginner can make this, and there's so many uses for this. You can wear it as a scarf. You can actually wear this as a cowl too, because you can tuck it in nicely. You can even wear this as a scoodie if you like, or you can use it as a shrug. It came out so pretty, and I'm so excited to share this pattern with you guys. Anyone can make this design. If you have any questions, you can always pop me a comment in the comment box down below, or of course, email me directly at info@crochetcrafty.com. I would really, really love it too if you would share your designs with me on Instagram. I'm really looking forward to seeing how your shrug scarf turned out. And make sure that if you haven't subscribed already, now make sure that if you don't currently subscribe to this channel, to click that subscription button so you'll always stay up to date every time we upload a new tutorial, which is every Wednesday. And it'll probably help if you tap that little notification bell so you'll get notified every time we do that. In the meantime, guys, thanks so much for coming along on our crochet project today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next session. Have a great day and happy crocheting!